Now in international news, the US presidential elections are finally underway. Voters must choose between Democrat Hillary Clinton or Republican Donald Trump as their new president. The vote brings to an end a bruising campaign between the two politicians. Opinion polls now favor Clinton, but only marginally. She was off to an early lead on Tuesday morning, winning 4 votes against Trump's 2 in Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. Either candidate must win most of the dozen or so swing states in order to clinch 270 Electoral College votes. The next American president will inherit an anxious nation, angry and distrustful of leaders in Washington. The new occupant of the White House will preside over an economy that appears to be improving, but is leaving many behind, and a military grappling with new extremist threats. Well, let's get the very latest now on the U.S. presidential election from CCTV's Sean Caleb's. He joins us from New York. Sean, of course, voting well underway across the United States. Just take us through some of the highlights from the voting process so far.
Well, I can tell you that Hillary Clinton got out with her husband, former President Bill Clinton, and voted first thing in the morning near her home here in the state of New York. Donald Trump voted just a short while ago here in the city. He was greeted by cheers, but also some boos. He does not have the popularity here in the city that he really does have in a lot of places where, as you mentioned, voters do feel disenfranchised and they do feel fed up with Washington, D.C., and they're asking for a change. But really what everybody's going to be focusing on over the next several hours, the so-called swing states, those up for grabs that could go for either Trump or Hillary Clinton. Very important states, including Florida with 27 electoral votes, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, as well as Michigan. Now, Michigan, a state in the upper Midwest of the U.S., has traditionally been a state that went strongly Democratic. In fact, it has not voted for a GOP president, a Republican president, since 1988. But there are a lot of white auto workers in that state, people who have lost their jobs. They do feel frustrated. They do feel fed up with the Clinton with the way she has run her campaign, which has been plagued by certain controversies, including the ongoing email controversy, where she was using her private server to handle tens of thousands of emails when she was U.S. Secretary of State. So a lot is going to come down to those so-called swing states. But people who are taking the polls say really Donald Trump has a very, very narrow path. If he's going to win the nomination win the presidency, he must virtually win all of these states that are up for grabs. So this morning we can tell you Hillary Clinton, when she voted, she was very buoyed, very optimistic, and certainly looking forward to what's going to go on here tonight. Behind me you can see the stage over my shoulder. This is where Hillary Clinton will come out later tonight and greet her supporters, either as the next president of the United States, the first woman president of the United States, or be forced to make some kind of concession speech.
Well, as you say, of course, those swing states are the ones to watch in the hours ahead. But Sean, just give us a timeline of when we can expect to see some kind of clearer indication on how this election is likely to turn out, or perhaps even the final results themselves.
Well, I think that some states are going to call as soon as the polls close. There are some that are definitely going to go toward Hillary Clinton and some that are going to go definitely toward Donald Trump. That could happen as early as 7 o'clock Eastern time, but a lot of the people who call these races are very cautious because so much is still at stake out west. Nevada is up for grabs. Colorado is up for grabs. Those states are very important. If indeed people start speculating too early that the race is over, it could affect voting, but it will happen in a different time zone out west. When will we know? It's going to be difficult to tell. I mean, the U.S. election process is democratic, but it certainly has its hiccups. Everybody remembers back in the year 2000, which was just a fiasco that basically didn't end for 40-some days. Went on and on and on. Now, as you mentioned, candidates need at least 270 electoral delegates to become the next president of the United States. Some polls have Clinton winning as many as 340, 330. If she does that, it could be a very short evening. But if it goes on and on, if Latinos don't turn out in huge numbers, if African Americans do not turn out in huge numbers, that could be the difference maker in this race. And that could be enough to propel Donald Trump onto the presidency as he continues to push his message of we need an outsider in Washington, D.C. to run the United States in a better fashion. But Clinton has really portrayed this race coming down to a candidate who wants to be inclusive and involve all peoples here in the United States, to Trump, who portrays himself as more as an isolationist. And of course, his mantra, "Make America Great Again," has been what he's been running on since back in June of 2015 when he first announced.
Well, of course, there's still lots of uncertainty in the tense hours ahead in the US elections. Thanks to Sean Caleb's there for that update from New York.